My name is Aram. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Maybe suffer from a few other things. And somewhere along the age of 15 years old, I started drinking, and maybe it was excessive, but I thought it was partying. And over the years, I became more and more dependent on alcohol for a good time, and then alcohol kind of had a negative effect on my body, so I started switching to other substances. I just like to really party and let go and let loose, and like I said, it started when I was 15, and it had pretty much very little consequences at that age, and I was able to go to college, to USC, with a full scholarship. I actually, while I was in high school, I was pretty well behaved. I was a gymnast, and I lettered in gymnastics. So I kind of tried to take care of my body a little bit. But once I went off to college, I really indulged, and I actually had a full scholarship to USC, academic scholarship, and and I didn't graduate. I didn't graduate because I was this you know untouchable guy. Um, I could turn anything into gold, do anything I wanted to do, and so I didn't play by anybody's rules, and really drinking heavily during that period of my life, and I thought it was normal. A lot of people at the university I went to drank excessively. It seemed like the thing to do. In any event, I dropped out of college because I just figured it was a waste of time, and I started working, and I had a successful business and was making a very, very good living, and that living had all the accoutrements, chauffeur-driven limousine and a race boat in Marina Del Rey, and a very tough and aggressive attitude. And for some reason, I really went off the deep end. I started using cocaine, heroin, opiates, obviously to mitigate or minimize my pain the next day. I found the benefit of Xanax and Valium, benzodiazepines. And, this was the age that I'm describing right now was 21, 22 years old. So at 22 years old, I had all this material success. I was pretty much unhappy inside, and I found that I was so happy with my existence, having material success, having some prestige at such a young age, that I was so satisfied I needed to alter my consciousness 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it was really peculiar to me to be that happy yet need to. So my point is, in hindsight, I really wasn't that happy, and the hindsight actually took approximately 15 years um, of continued chemical abuse, continued alcohol abuse, continued um, destructive behavior. And all along, while it may have not been the lifestyle that I had imagined for myself, if I could have somebody, usually it looked like a woman, or even a quote unquote crime partner, not that we were doing crimes, but just somebody who was going down this bad path with me, it really was okay. Um, and I didn't realize at the time that I just didn't have any belief that I could live any other way. Slowly but surely, over a period of years, I began to isolate myself from the mainstream life. I didn't believe I could live like all the normal people. I thought there was something fundamentally wrong with me, and the drug use and the alcohol use led to well over 50 arrests, about maybe 5 or 6 vehicles destroyed. Um, it led to 5 incarcerations in county jail. Um, the loss of life of people extremely close to me, um, in my immediate proximity, something that I'll never forget, and actually every day to this day. I remember situations that I can't erase. And when I come to this point where it's nothing, no relationship with a crime partner, no commiseration with a homeless person on the street. Actually, I was in a courthouse in Van Nuys today, representing a company that I work for, and just a block away, 10 years earlier. This is the God honest truth. 10 years earlier, just a block away from this courthouse where I'm representing a company I work for, I was sitting on the street drinking with homeless people 10 years earlier. At that point, there was no solace, there was no peace, there was no benefit to me getting high. But there was no other way I knew how to live. And when it got dark enough, through some, I guess, gift of the universe that it was no longer tolerable, I sought some help. And even during the course of seeking this help, I actually never believed that I would be able to join mainstream life, that I'd be able to, I keep saying Main Street, and I think that has to do with the street part of it. Because Main Street is a nice, quiet mix between urban and suburban life, and I was never part of that. I was always on the fringes. And a guy who's always on the fringes, who was, homecoming prince, lettered in gymnastics, took college courses when he was in high school, so in the groove, up until the age of 18, and then dramatically and drastically what it looks like, but it took a period of years. When I was 22 years old, I was ordering Johnny Walker at the Waldorf Astoria. Now, my drinking was already a problem, but I could never imagine that a few years later I would be drinking with homeless people on Van Nuys Boulevard in 100-degree heat, and then having some other homeless person who's intoxicated initiate fisticuffs. I use the word fistic. I'm being funny. Start a fight, and I didn't mind fighting either. And I deplored violence. Actually, I deplored the way I was living. Again, fear of not being able to live any other way. So I tried many times to stop. I had a deep burning desire to stop. I'd heard a lot of things about statistics. I'd heard a lot of things about what it takes to stop. It all worked out perfectly. But in my practice today, and by practice I don't mean as a physician, my practice as in my practice of being kind and loving and giving to other people, whether they suffer from alcoholism or addiction or not. But in my practice today, I let people know that they're not necessarily in control of the outcome here. That more than anything else, that when their will is broken, and their will needs to be broken. In various fellowships, we refer to it as hitting a bottom. Experts refer to it as hitting a bottom. Ultimately, it's the will being broken, and the will being broken to a degree that all the fear in the world isn't sufficient enough to get you to act on your will. So there's an opportunity for another way of life to come in. And, the other thing I didn't know early on, and I practice today, is telling people that way of life is not something scary. That way of life is not necessarily about finding capital G-O-D, as a lot of you will or may find that power in the universe, and you will and may find oneness with the universe. But simply put, all that we practice at the beginning is trying a different way of life and having support and love of the people around us, to let us know that no matter how afraid we are, that we won't succeed in living free of drugs and alcohol, that actually we can do it. You really, really can't do it. And it's not just sans drugs and alcohol. It's not just living without them. It's actually about opening up your creative self, losing your fear, losing your ego, which dictates every action that you take. If you're an artist and I'm an artist, once the judgment of the ego is gone, you get to be pure creative energy. If you're an intellect, once the self-chastising, the self-judgment goes away, you can really explore the intellect. If you're about love, once you stop requiring that love to be reciprocated, you can really get into understanding what it means to love. So the practice that comes along with the fellowship, the various fellowships that are out there, the ones that I participate in, is really about getting free from the self that really needed to medicate. The self that, for whatever reason, I mean, you know, I can sit here and try to resolve every single one of my issues, and I will die before I resolve them. Resolving issues and traumas may take a long time, but I can absolutely guarantee, based on my experience with myself, my experience working with hundreds of alcoholics, working with parents of alcoholics, siblings of alcoholics, employers of alcoholics, that you can deliver yourself, and don't let the word deliver you scare you, deliver yourself one day at a time to a bright, positive, hopeful, hope-based future without resolving all of your issues. The idea that human beings, for some reason, need to have a consistent experience, and that any experience outside of the norm needs to be resolved, is ludicrous. We're all individuals. We have our own experiences. We are human. And when I dropped the pursuit of perfection, that was a very big thing for me. When I dropped the pursuit of perfection, and honestly, anybody who's watching this, if you have the illusion or you're pursuing perfection, and one day at a time, or one binge at a time, whether it's every day or once a week or once a month, you're participating in self-destructive, humiliating behavior, you're far from perfection. You may as well just admit that you are human right here and right now. And from that point of humanity, you can open yourself up to the love and kindness that's out there in the world. And the world is a dark place, granted, if you look for the darkness. And I cannot begin to tell anybody that's watching this how amazing my life is. Not only have I stopped abusing chemicals, killing myself slowly, I've learned a way of living that gives me all the power in the world. The first step in these fellowships is to admit that one is powerless, and that's terrifying to most people, but there is so much power and powerlessness, and it looks like this. The power that I'm exerting when I'm using, when I'm drinking, even if I stop drinking but don't alter my perception, the power that I'm using is the power that I'm trying to exert against the entire universe. So that's like using a toothpick to take down a dam. You may have a lot of power in that toothpick, yeah, maybe it'll poke your skin, but it doesn't do any good with respect to moving something as large as the universe. And what I found is that when I realign my power with the universe, I stop fighting everything. It doesn't matter what I want. If what I wanted was so important, I had achieved and gotten everything I wanted, it delivered me to a state where I still wanted to alter my consciousness. I had 34 years of evidence that even getting what I want, what I thought I wanted, didn't fulfill me. And all he did was I trusted in a new way of living. Why did I trust in that way? Because my will was broken, because I had no hope. That's actually a scary, terrifying place to be. It's like a jumping off point. But, you know, the reality of it is if I don't jump, I will die.